Before we get into today's video, I just want to let you guys know that this video is for educational purposes only. Please remember to be kind to everybody everywhere in your everyday life, in your home, in the grocery store, and especially in the comment section down below. Please do not show hate to anybody, anywhere. So good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody doing today? I hope you all are having an amazing day. I hope everybody is having a wonderful week. I hope everybody is feeling good and healthy and happy. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about a case that is still unfolding, and there are so many twists and turns and layers in this story. So make sure you guys stay all the way to the end so you can get it all. Before we get into it though, I did want to let you guys know, if you don't already know, hi, my name is Christina. I do have a second channel, which is Casually Christina. We just do things way more casually over there. I also have a Patreon. My Patreon's for 18 and up. And over there we talk about more personal stuff. We go live over there. There is a $2 tier for all the true crime stuff that cannot go onto YouTube due to their terms and policies. That goes over on my Patreon under the $2 tier. Just make sure you read the full about section and what each tier offers before you join. I am also on Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat, and I'm also on Like to Know It. And Like to Know It is a platform where you can find links to all of the things that you guys ask about or things that I like or that I use. Any link to just about anything you can think of, from clothing items to makeup to cooking utensils, workout gear, all that type of stuff, I link over on my Like to Know It. And all of those platforms are linked down in the description box if you would like to come and check me out. And before we get into it, I do need to let you guys know that all of the information that I'm talking to y'all about is pulled from very public news sources that is already out there. I'm just filtering it through my own words and opinions. Go do your own research, form your own opinions, because everything in this video is alleged. So let's just start at the beginning. 36-year-old Michael Shaver was born on January 14th of 1982, and he was living in Claremont, Florida. Now, Michael was originally from New York, but he moved to Florida with his family. Now, Michael had trained and he had worked as a pilot, and he later ended up becoming a monorail technician at Disney World. I mean, he had a great job and a lot of experience. Michael was married to a 41-year-old woman named Laurie. They were both high school sweethearts, and they ended up having 2 children together. Laurie worked from home. Now, according to friends and family, Michael was a great man. He was a great father, he was a great brother, a great son, and a great friend. Once again, it seemed like Michael and Laurie were living like the perfect life. And I say once again because we hear about these stories all the time, the very Facebook-worthy, Instagram-worthy relationships. Nothing wrong with that. Most people do not post the ugly parts of their lives online, and most of us do not expect you or me or whatever to as well. But of course, like we all know, what we see online or from the outside isn't really how things are. Michael and Laurie had some issues, okay? And we're going to get into more of that later. But behind closed doors, things were not as peachy keen as a lot of people seem to think that they were. So for now, we're going to skip ahead to 2018. In February of 2018, one of Michael's childhood friends, Scott, called the police and asked for a welfare check to be done on Michael. Now you're probably like, whoa, 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 what are you talking about? Why is his friend calling for a welfare check? He's living with his wife and his children. Well, Scott went on to tell the cops that no one had heard from Michael in almost 3 years. Since the end of 2015, he suspected that Michael's wife, Laurie, hadn't been telling the truth about Michael's whereabouts. See, Laurie had said that the last time that Michael was at their home was in September of 2014, and the last time she says that she saw her then at that time husband was on November 7th of 2015. She said at the time, Michael left in a black SUV to be with another woman in Georgia, and he never came back. So basically she's saying her husband ran away with this other woman and nobody has seen him since. However, Scott said all of Michael's belongings, possessions, clothes, everything was still at their home. Scott said on November 10th of 2015, just 3 days after Laurie claimed to have last seen Michael, Michael suddenly texted his job and quit. So again, Michael has all this experience. He's working at Disney, a very important job there as a monorail technician. And he just texts his job and says, I quit, okay? Scott, his friend, also said that he believed that Laurie, his wife, was pretending to be Michael on his Facebook account, like posting or liking things or responding, commenting, and stuff like that. Scott even mentioned that he was very suspicious of a concrete fire pit that Laurie had built in their backyard right after Michael left. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I go long periods of time without talking to friends. Sometimes life gets busy, especially at our age. You know, you've got all these things going on and you may not talk to your friends for a while. But this friend, Scott, who had not heard from his friend Michael in 3 years, was very, very concerned. Michael's family was also concerned. They said that it was very unlike him to just drop out of sight and not contact anyone, not even his children. They're like, this is not like Michael. He's not going to just leave and not even come and see his children. I mean, they hadn't heard from their father since November of 2015, and Michael's family thought it was suspicious that there hadn't been any new pictures of Michael posted on his Facebook account. They said that it even seemed like Michael's Facebook page had been being managed by someone else, just like his friend Scott said. Because of this, the officers decided to go out to Michael's old home where Laurie was living with their children. When they went there to do a welfare check, initially, Laurie welcomed them right into the home and she sat down, she spoke with them, she answered questions, and she cooperated while the officers began to search the home. She's like, sure, fine. Look around, you know, whatever, make yourself at home, look at whatever you want to look at. But then the officers outright asked Laurie if she had buried Michael under the concrete slab that the fire pit sat on. Now, this is weird, okay? They live on a big piece of property. And I mean, it's beautiful, it's open, it's spacious. And in the backyard, there's this concrete slab. And the officers just straight up say, hey, did you bury him under that? Well, when they asked her that, Laurie apparently replied, no, that's ridiculous. Like any normal person would reply if somebody wasn't buried underneath it. So the officers asked if they could take a look around the fire pit with a cadaver dog. Okay, so they're like, well, fine. We're going to do you mind if we take the cadaver dogs out there just to sniff around? This is when Laurie shut down the interview or the conversation. She immediately asked the officers to leave her home, and she said that she needed to contact her lawyer, which ding, 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 that was probably a big red flag to these officers. The officer said that the concrete pad was about 2 inches thick and it was 3 foot by 6 foot. And if you're envisioning like a 3 foot by 6 foot, it's a very specific rectangular shape. And it appeared to have like this browning discoloration that resembled a shallow grave underneath. They said that they could almost make out the shape of a body and the direction that it was laying in. They also said that it appeared that a new layer of concrete had been poured around this depression, which was very suspicious to these officers. So of course the deputies went and they got a search warrant so they could search without her permission, and they went back to the home on March 9th and they ended up digging up this slab. This is when they found Michael's remains buried 3 feet beneath the fire pit. He was dressed in socks, shorts, and underwear. Also removed from around his body was a tarp, a set of ratchet straps, and the remains of like this fitted sheet. The tags on the sheet indicated that they were bought from Kohl's. And this just happened to be a store that Laurie went to quite often, and they found like a bunch of Kohl's transactions on her bank statements. Now, according to his autopsy, Michael died as a result of a single bullet to the back of the head from a .38 caliber. According to court records, Laurie kept a pink .38 caliber on her nightstand. This is when the investigators started digging into Laurie and Michael's relationship and their past. And remember that incident that I mentioned earlier in the video? Well, Court records show in September of 2014, a fight between Michael and Laurie resulted in Michael being charged with battery. Michael and Laurie gave totally different stories to the officers about what happened that evening. Each said that the other one pulled out a firearm, and they both said that they had to wrestle it away from the other one. So you've got two people basically giving the exact same story, but in opposite ways. He's saying, no, she pulled out this weapon and I had to wrestle it from her. And she's saying, no, he pulled out the weapon, I had to wrestle it from him. Michael said that Laurie pulled it out of the nightstand and threatened to end it all before she ended up striking Michael in the back of the head with the .38. He had cuts on his head and she had bruises on her arms, back, and cuts on her hands, her arms, and a bruise on her left cheek. So they were both quite banged up from this. Michael ended up accepting a plea deal that allowed him to go into a 12-month intervention program, and he successfully completed this intervention program in just 6 months. Now, after that incident, Michael went to live in an airplane hangar at work at Disney, and he even started dating one of his coworkers. When Laurie found out that he was dating this coworker in their relationship, she was so upset about it. It is said that she allegedly reported the relationship to HR at Disney World. Okay, so she was not having it. In May of 2015, Michael and his coworker ended up breaking up, and Michael moved back into the home with Laurie and their children, according to this investigation. Now, even though Laurie said that he never did move back in after the incident in September of 2014, then the investigators found out that Laurie had never once tried to call Michael after November 7th, which, hello, major red flag. So your husband and the father of your children just leaves and you never call his phone again. The investigators also say that Laurie never tried to file for child support and she never filed for a divorce, even though she started selling off Michael's stuff and his tools. This is when they also learned that Laurie had actually gotten remarried less than a year after Michael's death to a man named Travis. Now, they had an unofficial ceremony because technically Laurie was still married to Michael. Guess where they had the ceremony, you guys? In the backyard. Yes. According to investigators, Laurie had once allegedly told this new husband of hers, it's not that Michael is missing, it's that he's no longer walking this earth. She also allegedly told her husband about there being a body buried on her property and suggested that something bad had happened. Now, I don't know about this new husband, Travis, but I don't know what kind of red flags you need in a relationship. I just can't imagine. If I was at a house party, okay, if I was at a dinner and the people serving the dinner insinuate there's a body buried in their backyard, I'm out of there. You know what I mean? Nevertheless, the investigators continued to search, and this is when they found that Michael's cell phone was last used on November 7th of 2015, and Michael was also last seen in public with Laurie and their children on November 7th by a coworker named Frank. Now, Frank and his wife went to a tractor show where they said that they saw Michael and Laurie together, and they thought it looked like the two of them weren't really getting along. You know that vibe when you see a couple and they're like, hi, how are you? You can just tell something weird was going on, or maybe they're arguing. Frank actually texted Michael the next day, which was on November 8th, and got no response. Frank texted Michael again on November 9th and received a response that said that he was quitting work to save his marriage. And when the investigators checked into Michael's showing up for work or his schedule at work, this is when they found that not only he did not call in saying that he wasn't coming, but when he was supposed to show up for work on November 10th, he didn't show up and he was never seen again. So these are all it's painting the picture here, right? Well, Michael's boss, John, said that Michael was a very reliable employee and he never, ever missed a day without calling in. According to the investigators, Laurie sent a message to her sister on November 11th saying, Michael left yesterday. He packed his stuff and he went to the airport. On November 12th, John texted Michael about work and received a response saying, I'm having issues at home in Georgia right now. Just fire me or I'll quit. I will not be returning anytime soon. When Michael's coworker Frank heard about this, he thought that this was very strange. He actually ended up going to Michael and Laurie's home on November 13th to check on Michael. However, when he got there, Laurie answered the door and told Frank that Michael had left for Georgia after they got into a fight about her finding another woman's phone number in his phone. Frank then asked Laurie how Michael got to Georgia because his car was sitting right there in the driveway. Laurie apparently said that a friend named Robert had picked him up and drove him there. When Robert was asked about this, he said that that never happened. And I can just imagine the investigators, as they're going and talking to each person, they're like, okay, that never happened, The investigators say that Laurie did try to keep up this illusion that Michael was still alive by posting on his Facebook pretending to be him. She was also sending messages to people on social media from Michael's Facebook beginning on November 9th, but everyone said that the tone of these messages did not seem like they were coming from Michael. One message to the coworker, Frank, told him to keep all of Michael's tools at work because he would not be picking them up. One message to the friend, Robert, said, "Leave me alone, don't bother me." And that just seems so suspicious because Michael would not talk like that. He was not going to tell his friend, "Leave me alone, don't bother me." The investigators also found out that after November 9th of 2015, Michael's debit card was never used again for any purchase for any reason. However, on November 19th and on the 23rd, two separate online purchases were made at wish.com for like female lingerie that was shipped to Laurie Shaver. So you're talking about just a few days after this man disappeared, she's using his card to buy lingerie to have sent to her house. Who is she wearing this lingerie for? Because it wasn't Michael. Then on November 30th, a check for $2,539 mailed to Michael on December 11th was cashed. On the back of the check was an unrecognizable signature, Michael's social security number, and a cell phone number. There was multiple ATM withdrawals that were made as well. So even though he hadn't used his debit card, he was spending a lot of money. The investigators said that there hadn't been any recent activity on his credit cards, but in 2016, a bank had filed a claim against Michael in small claims court saying that he owed $3,088 on a credit card that he had not paid. However, the case was dropped when the server could not find Michael to serve him with the papers. Investigators also said that Michael had no current cell phone and his driver's license, his passport, and his pilot's license had all expired. He had no driver's license in any other state, and his car had been repossessed back in 2016. Then the investigators interviewed one of Laurie's exes, who she dated a few months after Michael's passing. According to the interviewing officers, the man said he broke things off with Laurie when she showed him a tattoo that she had gotten of his nickname on her vajayjay. So he just meets this woman, Laurie. Okay, he comes to hang out with her. They've only been dating for a little bit, and she gets his nickname tattooed on her. Hoo-ha! I mean, red flag, like, slow down, sister. While the two of them were still seeing each other, Laurie was pretending to be Michael and sent this man's wife a Facebook message from Michael's Facebook page. The wife didn't initially see it or respond to it. Because the wife never responded, Laurie sent flowers to her work with a card that said, "Roses are red, violets are blue. My wife is a whore. Your husband is too. Sorry about this. Check your Facebook message. We need to talk, Mike." Wow! Can you believe this? This woman is, listen, allegedly, fill in the blank. Who even thinks of something like that? I mean, this wife did end up going to her Facebook message. You can imagine she gets the flowers at work. Everybody's like, you know how it is when you get flowers at work. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The person walks in with the flowers. Everybody's looking to see who the flowers are for. They're brought to you. Oh my gosh, hee hee ha. And everybody's like, oh, get the card. Oh, it's for my loving husband. Then you read that message. She was sneaking that card in her pocket. She didn't want nobody else to see it at work. And then she's over there checking that Facebook message. Now, after the wife sees the message, she ends up messaging who she thought was Michael back on Facebook. Through that message, Laurie ended up sending a screenshot with her conversation with the husband back to the wife. She even went as far as to say that she got the screenshot by installing spyware, like a spyware app on Laurie's phone. The investigators believe that Laurie did all of this just to get the wife to divorce her husband so she could be with him again. After she done got the man's name tattooed and he's married, oh my gosh. But the husband ended up breaking things off with Laurie instead. At this point, the investigators believe that they had more than enough evidence to arrest Laurie for Michael's death. Now, on September 17th of 2020, and mind you, he had went missing back in 2015, and the friend Scott had called the police to do the welfare check in 2018. Now we're in September of 2020. Laurie was finally arrested and charged with second-degree murder, DV, and accessory after the fact. Laurie ended up going in, she pled not guilty, and she posted a $50,000 bail. After she got out, listen to this, you guys. Laurie put out this video interview with her and her attorney.
My name is Laurie Filmer, also known as Laurie Shaver, and as my attorney, Mr. Wiggs, has just stated, he is representing me for the charges of second-degree murder of my ex-husband, Michael Shaver. I'm coming before you guys today just to let you know that we have our suspicions, but I don't know why I've been targeted, why I've been set up, or charged with this heinous crime. I am not guilty. And anybody that knows me knows that my life is my children. I am a daughter, I'm a friend, I'm a neighbor, I'm a servant of God, I'm a wife, and I am a devoted mother of 4. My life is my children. The well-being of my children has and always will be my top priority. And that is the reason that I would never cause any harm to the father of my children. And I know that there's people out there that are trying to paint this picture of me, but that's not me. I'm loving, I'm caring, I have a servitude heart. I don't judge people. I accept all, and I always try to see the good in everybody. And right now, I am up against something that I would have never imagined possible.
Okay, so while I was filming this video, Laurie was actually out on bond getting ready to go to trial. Now, side note, watching her give that statement is so very interesting because she was naming all the things that she is, and she's this person, and she's that, and she loves her children, and and the whole time I'm watching it thinking, yeah, but you also had a body of your ex-husband buried in your backyard under a fire pit. No matter how he got there, like, that's a little weird. I mean, hello. Anyways, while she was out on bond, her attorney said, that they got a statement from a minor child admitting to killing Michael. Laurie's lawyer filed a motion informing the judge that they received testimony from a minor child who confessed to having committed the murder in this case. Okay, so now here comes this minor child that says, knock, knock, knock. Hey, excuse me, court, I'm the one that did it. The minor child is Laurie and Michael's 14-year-old daughter, who was 7 years old at the time. During the deposition, the daughter said that she is the one that shot Michael in the back of the head because she says that Michael was attacking the defendant, Laurie, her mom. It then goes on to say that the man that Laurie was seeing at the time showed up at the house and instructed Laurie and her daughter to leave while he took care of the body. Now, Laurie's daughter, who is almost 16 years old, testified in court that she is indeed the one who fired the weapon at her father. Now, mind you, She was allegedly 7 years old at the time. I'm gonna play her telling the story, and you guys, it just don't sound right to me. I'm gonna let y'all listen to it, and then I'm gonna tell you what I think.
Do you know anything about how your father died?
I do.
Could you tell the jury?
So, it was a school day, and I'm sorry. And he.
First, let's relax, go slow, make sure the jury understands the events, okay?
Okay. It was a school morning. Me and my brother were getting ready for school. He hadn't been at the house for a while. He was kicked out, removed, and me and my brother were in separate rooms. We had pretty much been ready for school. I was eating my breakfast and I was watching TV. We had these like little plastic tables in our rooms, and I was watching TV and I heard arguing. Initially, I thought it was the TV, and then I was like, no, that's not the TV. So my room, it was my room, and then it had a bathroom and then a spare room. And so they all connected to each other, like through the bathroom. It was almost like a little like pathway. And so I heard, the fighting and the yelling, and it escalated. So when I was little, I would go through there to like sneak around, and I opened the spare room door, and in front of the spare room door was the dining room. And in front of the dining room, there was a glass door, like a sliding glass door. So I opened the door to the spare room, and I stood there, and I saw my father, and he wasn't supposed to be there. And my mom and my father were fighting, and my mom went to leave the argument, leave the porch. They were out on the porch, and he pulled her by the arm, and he pulled her into her lap onto one of the porch chairs, and he held her there. And then she was like, "We can work things out. Like we'll figure this out. It'll be different." And he was like, "No, there's no next time. There's no figuring it out." And he pushed her onto the ground. And he started kicking her in the stomach and in the back. And then he took his other foot and he put it on the side of her face. And she was screaming, and he was like saying there's not going to be another time, and that he was going to kill her at this time. And I heard my mom screaming for help, obviously, and then he put his foot on the side of her face and pushed it into the ground, and I didn't hear her anymore. And sorry. And so I went to my mom's room, and I went at her end table, and I grabbed her gun, and I went back out, and I went to the door. The door was already open, and he had my mom on the ground still holding her to the ground, still kicking her, and I shot him, and nothing happened. He didn't fall. Nothing happened. And then Jeremy.
Let me stop you a little bit as well. Okay, you say nothing happened. Was he standing or sitting?
He was sitting in the chair.
He was sitting in the chair.
He was sitting in the chair.
His foot on your mom's neck?
Right.
You shot him. Do you know exactly who you shot him or?
I'm not exactly sure. No.
Okay. Did you shoot him from the rear region, or where do you think you shot him?
I was aiming towards his head,
Okay.
but I'm not sure where the bullet went.
Okay. And what happened after you fired the gun?
He was just sitting there. I mean, he wasn't moving. Nothing happened. There was no blood. There was no nothing. And then,
Let me stop you there. Okay. Let me interject here and there, if I may.
okay.
Did you feel when you fired that shot that had to be done, or he would have killed your mother?
Yes. I'm
Firm
sure.
on that?
I'm firm on that.
Was he using that type of force in your mind?
Yes.
That it was necessary?
Mhm. Yes.
Okay. What happened after you shot him? Or you believe you shot him?
Afterwards, Jeremy came, and
How long?
it was right after it happened. Like, I hadn't even had a chance to walk away, move, nothing yet. And, he came in, and he took the gun from me, and then he shot him again. And that's when he fell to the ground. And, my mom had crawled away. He fell to the ground. Jeremy he told my mom to take us out of the house, take us to school, and that we needed to leave. We're not to tell anybody. We can't tell nobody. We can't call the cops. We can't say anything, or else he was going to do the same thing to me and my brother. And he was going to, hurt us too. So we went to school.
Okay. So you leave the residence, you go to school. When you get to school, what happens?
We get to school. Nothing really happened at school. I would say I was most definitely in shock. But at the same time, it was like, because those types of events happen often, I was very used to the and seeing things like that. And so I was still able to perform normally at school. And just kind of, not go about my day, be at school.
What time did you get out of school?
I was in elementary school, so I think around 3.
In my very unprofessional opinion, that sounded so coached. The way that teenager spit that story out like it just happened yesterday with all the details, sounded like she had been practicing. That's the first thing. Second thing is, Laurie wanted the jury or people, I don't know what they were thinking, wants the public, whoever, to believe that her 7-year-old daughter saw all that happen, turned around and killed her father, and then she took her and dropped her off at elementary school, 3rd grade, and she went through the rest of the day just fine, didn't get out. In what world? In what world? She said she performed normally that day. If, and I don't know, I hope not, but if a mother puts that on their child to take the blame for something, so that would be sick, y'all. Sick. Now remember, the daughter just said that after she pulled the trigger the first time, her mom's boyfriend came in and took the weapon from her and discharged it himself, and this is when her father fell. Which, this does not happen in real life, does it? Do you show up to somebody's house and there's 2 people standing there with a body on the floor and you go, y'all leave, I'm going to take care of this? This man, however, completely denies that this ever happened. He's like, what are you talking about? Not me. I didn't do that.
When my name came out as part of this case, my wife and I felt that we would retain an attorney to help us through the process, help us understand the legal side of this.
But you were willing to talk to law enforcement on multiple occasions before ever doing so?
Yes.
And you responded to all requests to speak with them?
Yes.
Do you know Laurie Shaver?
I do.
How did you meet her?
I met her at one of the public parks.
And about when did you first meet her?
September 2015.
And what were you doing at the park?
I had my son there. That she was going through a divorce.
Did she tell you her husband's name?
Michael Shaver.
Did she tell you where he was?
She said that he had left with a friend in a vehicle.
Okay. And when did that happen in relation to when you started this physical relationship with her?
When she told me that Michael had moved out, that was November 2015.
And so the time frame that you started going to the house was after that?
It was the first week of December.
At any point when you were over at the Shaver residence, was Michael Shaver there?
No.
At any point, did you arrive on a scene where Michael Shaver had been shot?
No.
At any point, were you involved with any sort of altercation with Michael Shaver?
No.
At any point, did you shoot or injure Michael Shaver?
No.
At any point, were you involved with disposing of the body of Michael Shaver?
No.
And after the affair was exposed, what happened with your relationship with Laurie?
I cut it off.
Nothing further, Judge.
The ex-lover's wife even got up there and testified, which was very interesting. You remember the wife that ended up receiving the flowers from allegedly Laurie? I mean, goodness gracious. There was a lot of people that testified, including the neighbor of Michael and Laurie. Now, when the neighbor testified, she told a story about a time that Michael had called her to come over and help him. She said that when she got there, he was banged up pretty bad. And when she began to ask him what was going on, this is when he told her that Laurie had been drunk and was trying to take off with the kids. And so he had to wrestle the keys away from her. However, Laurie had the same weapon and had banged him in the head with it, and he was messed up. She was so concerned. She ended up taking pictures of his injuries.
Did you see injuries consistent with that?
Yes,
Did you take pictures of those injuries?
I did.
Showing the
Those are the pictures that I took of Michael and his injuries and his torn clothes.
Does that accurately reflect how Michael Shaver was when you observed him that night after you described the events that you've talked about?
Yes,
What was his approximately height and weight?
he was about 5'6", almost the same height I think as me, and about 150 pounds. He had the keys to her truck in his pocket, and she was fighting him and tore his shorts to get the keys out, and she succeeded in getting the keys out.
And did he express why he was trying to prevent her from having those keys?
Because she was drunk and she was taking off with the children.
Now, Laurie herself did get up there and testify. I'm not going to add any of it in this video because in all honesty, in my opinion, it was so hard to listen to. She focused on so many things that was not important. It was long and drowned out, and I found her disingenuous. And in all honesty, anybody that could possibly talk their own child into lying for them in this type of way, there's something really messed up with you. But nevertheless, she didn't convince me, not that I'm anybody, but she did not convince the jury either because they unanimously voted to find Laurie Shaver guilty of second-degree murder for killing her husband and the father of two of her children.
Jury reached a verdict.
Yes.
Is it unanimous?
Yes.
Please hand the verdict forms to Madam Bailiff. Thank you.
In the Circuit Court of the 5th Judicial Circuit of the State of Florida and in Fort Lake County, the State of Florida versus Laurie Shaver, case number 2020 CF 2361. Verdict as to count 1. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 1 of the charge. The defendant is guilty of second-degree murder.
Michael's family gave a statement after the verdict was read, and you guys got to remember, I mean, as far as they knew, he just disappeared for years. If it wasn't for the friend really pressing the issue, who knows? I mean, would she have gotten away with this? She literally had him buried in the backyard. But listen to them.
We are very grateful to be standing here today to recognize the guilty verdict against Laurie Shaver. While this will not bring our beloved Michael back, our family can finally, after all these years, start to get closure. He did not deserve what happened to him. His friends and family, and now the public, know what a great man he was. He will forever live on in our hearts. Michael will never be forgotten.
I mean, if that's what happened, why they didn't just call the police? You know, why didn't they do that? None of that makes sense. And the way that Laurie acted afterwards with the lingerie, buying the lingerie just a few days afterwards, like she was ready, and sending the flowers to the wife's work. I don't know, you guys. I see vindictiveness and maliciousness in that from my very unprofessional opinion. Bravo to Scott, the friend, though, who didn't just he ran off with another woman for an answer. Like, he knew it was bothering him all this time that his friend had just disappeared. And, you know, like I said in the beginning of this video, sometimes friends go periods of time without talking, but man, this friend knew that this was not normal. Somebody may have got away with this if Scott, his friend, hadn't pressed the issue. Have y'all heard about this? As of now, Laurie's sentencing date is scheduled for November of this year, 2024, and she faces up to life in prison in the Florida prison system. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I love you guys. Thank y'all for being here, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Love you guys. Bye.